This call is being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please disconnect at this time.
Good day. I am the voice of We Provoke Thought, and We Provoke Thought is an organization, a show that is looking to be the platform for all those who have an opinion, idea, or educated information to share to the world, an outlet to voice your feelings and facts. For We Provoke Thought, and for that we do not apologize. Now, once we begin, we will continue with you having full knowledge that the call is being recorded, that you agree to continue with the recorded call, and that you agree for We Provoke Thought to publish this call without releasing your name, identity, or phone number, or any information leading to you on We Provoke Thought's YouTube channel and We Provoke Thought's Facebook fan page, and along with websites soon to come. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our listeners, again, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for tuning in to We Provoke Thought. And I would also like to bring to light that just recently I had posted information on the Facebook fan page on ways in which those can get in touch with me or the show itself. If you want to be a part of the show, if you just simply had information or suggestions for questions and topics that you wish to hear or wanted to be raised. When giving that information out, I had a gentleman that did contact me and would like to share information to you all and basically use We Provoke Thought as his platform to voice his opinion and probably provide us all with some very, very, very enlightening information. So what I would like to do is introduce you all to what I like to call my panel of provocative thinkers. So today I have a gentleman on the line. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good,
All right. And just so that the listeners can all get an idea of the demographics in which we reached, I would just like to ask, what city and state are you in?
I'm in the city of Yorktown, and I'm in the state of Virginia.
All right. And as I mentioned, I like to consider you, because I like there to be a level of transparency with this whole movement, this organization or the show, if you will, and letting folks know when we have a random call, which is the premise of this entire show here. But at times there are those who wish to share things with us all, and then at times there are those that I wish to actually provide a forum, if you will, or platform to share information or express themselves. So you being one who which contacted We Provoke Thought and wanted to share some things with us. So I would like to first point out that there are a lot of issues going on in this world right now. We have with the Syria government being really on the target right now with America. And we have the issue with a possible, what one of many may say is a possible World War III with Syria, again, the whole Assad government being on the hot seat, if you will, due to the Syrian gassing of the Syrian people, women, children, and men. We also have an issue out in DeKalb, Georgia, DeKalb County in Georgia, where we had 8 DeKalb County deputies that are basically under fire after what I would like to call a break-in in a terroristic act, if you will, a raid on a innocent family's home. We can move on down to the fact that privacy is still a problem right now. We are finding, or I am finding, that there are still many different entities along with the government that are violating the privacy and the rights of those families and American citizens in this country and probably around the world. But again, I don't ever like to limit any of my provocative thinkers or any of those that I call to just the topics in which I raise. And again, since you contacted us, may I ask, what would you like to share with us in the world?
All right. Well, firstly, I'd like to talk about an event that I had partaken of about two weeks ago. And the event dealt with I guess you could call like an interreligious discussion or debate, particularly between Muslim and Christian. And the subject dealt with the religion of Islam. You know, that's in the news a lot. and whether the religion is a religion of peace. And
say that one more time, a religion of peace. You said it, whether Islam is a religion of peace. Is that correct?
Right, yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
And so, I was involved. I was one of the people representing the Islamic side in that discussion. And for me, I say the debate went well, but it's a very interesting topic, especially when it's being presented from what I look at from people who really, what I would say, are not in the position to be asking that question. In other words, it's interesting that those who are who represent or who are on the side of attacking other countries and invading other countries, and it's interesting that they would be asking the question, is Islam a religion of peace, when they're on the side of those who promote war and support war and invasions, and you know what I mean, more than any of the people, you know what I'm saying? So I just found that interesting. So actually what I did at the beginning of the debate, I actually pointed that out. I gave some statistics on military spending, on how most of the biggest military spenders are Western countries, including our own country, the United States, which is considered the biggest, actually is the biggest out of all those who spend their budget towards war. And I just explained to the audience that, when you look at, the Western budget, how the top 3 or 4 biggest spenders are Western countries when it comes to military expenditures and war financing and things like that. And then really there's no Arab country or there's no Muslim country that has any budget even close, you know what I mean, that spends that much money on war or their military comes close to any Western country, in particular America, which claims that it's in this war against terrorism or some might say against Islam. So I just wanted to point that out to them that, when you look at the reality, you shouldn't really be asking the question, is Islam a religion of peace? Because none of the Muslim countries or Arab countries have a budget that big, they don't even attempt to spend that much money, on war or military expenditures. And a lot of times when you think about it, a lot of the Muslim countries, they're the ones that are being invaded. They're the ones being bombed. You know what I mean? So really, it's kind of hypocritical to ask the question towards Muslims, hey, is Islam a religion of peace? When the reality is that they're not the ones who promoting all these wars and doing all the, the invasions and things like that. And another thing that's interesting is that, when they actually do studies on what motivates what they, the quote-unquote terrorists, not justifying what they do, but when they actually look at the motivating factor, it's not any teaching from Islam. A lot of these, really all of these people who have been convicted or accused or suspected of committing some act, they always cite the same reason. And their reason is they keep saying they did what they did because of the bombing of Muslim civilians, the drone attacks that kill Muslim children, Muslim civilians. Now, again, this doesn't justify them thereby attacking civilians in the West or America, but at least you get to understand what's their motivating factor, and it's not the religion. They haven't read something that says, oh, yeah, okay, I'm reading about the Quran, and it says go ahead and do it. No, they're telling you or telling us the reason why they're doing what they're doing is because, of Muslims being killed, of the invasions of Western countries invading various Muslim lands, bombing them, drone attacks, sanctions that harm this population. You know what I mean? These are their reasons, So
right.
That was pointed out in the debate. Also, too, the case was made from the Islamic sources, like the Book of the Muslims, which is the Quran, that also shows that it has peaceful teachings. It has teachings that teach the Muslims to deal peacefully with non-Muslims. And when it does talk about fighting, it makes it clear that the fighting is based upon injustices. If the Muslims are being attacked, if people are being oppressed, it never says to fight just because people are not Muslims. It never says fight, to make people become Muslim. It never says, fight for those reasons. When it does speak of fighting, it talks about fighting in self-defense, fighting against oppression, but on a general basis, it clearly speaks of, Muslims being able to have peaceful relations with those who are peaceful with the Muslims. If they're not trying to fight with the Muslims, then it tells the Muslims to be peaceful with those people. And even if there is a situation where there's fighting, it makes it clear that if there is a attempt to have peace or make a peace treaty, then that's allowed as well. So it never speaks of an ongoing war. So even if there is a war, or if there is a battle, it makes it clear that if both sides want to reconcile, then reconciliation should take place. You know what I'm saying? So, I think
let me ask you this. Where did this debate take place?
It took place in Detroit. It was hosted by a Catholic organization, Catholic radio, in particular, Catholic radio station. I guess they're pretty popular in that area. And so, it was hosted by the Catholic organization. The attendance of the audience was predominantly Catholic. There were a few Muslims in there, but the audience was predominantly Catholic. And after the debate, there was a good response. A lot of people said they came away learning more about Islam, understanding better, and many even said that they, took to the position that Islam is a religion of peace. Although people are doing things in the name of Islam, unfortunately, right. But they came away saying that, well, they understood at least that the religion teaches peaceful, teachings, and so at least that it came out.
And I could understand, I could see that because, at the end of the day, for anyone to, I understand that if one says, I'm doing this in the name of or because of, even with that individual or a group identifying their actions based upon a faith or ideology or what have you, you cannot condemn the outside group of the participants or the outside group of those who are participating. You can't condemn. That's to say, a mass shooting taking place in schools and things of that nature. Whatever their religion may be, do we then say, well, if they were, those kids or that gentleman that, killed this person or killed this group of people, he was Christian or he was Jewish or he was Buddhist. So, all Buddhists are now terrorists, or all Christians are now terrorists. You can't do that. And I guess was that the position that you were taking, or am I incorrect with that?
Yeah. I put that in there as well, and that's the important thing is that because that's another interesting point too is that there was a time in America where, and I didn't get a chance to really bring this out in the debate because I was so busy trying to make my case about Islam that I was prepared. Yeah, I was prepared to bring this argument up, but it was I was pressed for time, so I was like, well, I guess it's better if I concentrate on making the case about Islam.
Well, bring it out now. Here you go, debate part 2.
Yeah, I was going to bring that out. That at one point in America's history, Catholics were castigated as well, like they say about Muslims. There was one time where people thought that Catholics were a threat to America, that Catholics were trying to take over. You know what I mean? I threw it in a little bit, but I didn't get to really go into detail about it. I wanted to, but I was going to let the audience know that, you got to remember that at one time, you as Catholics, the audience was Catholics, that one time them as Catholics, that they were looked upon as a threat to American society, that people thought that Catholics were going to take over, that the Vatican was a threat. Matter of fact, when, how they do with Obama now, even though he says he's not a Muslim, but when John F. Kennedy became president, a lot of people thought...
Wait, time out. You said, even though they said that Obama was not a Muslim. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. Even though Obama himself says that he's not a Muslim. You know how you have these people who claim that he's a Muslim, right? But he himself says that he's not a Muslim. So, but you have people who still try to claim that that he's a Muslim or he's hiding it or something like that. Fact is, the man he's not. He says he's not a Muslim. He says he goes to church. We know his church from Chicago, But even with that, same thing was similar with John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy was elected president, he had a Catholic background. So a lot of people, when he became president, they thought that he was going to be a problem. They thought that he might be obedient to the Vatican, to the Catholic Church, to the Pope, and that he would take America in some Catholic direction. You know what I'm saying? So my point to bring that out is, like you just said, is that, right, you can't do that. You can't just say, well, hey, this person did this and this is his background. Even if the person says that he's doing it in the name of, you still can't go and say, well, they're all like that. And that's the thing about people who come from certain backgrounds, which surprises me that they would take this position, because I'm like, your people, that was done to you as Catholics. People used to say stuff like that about you, that you were a threat, that you were a danger, that you guys are trying to take over American society and turn it to put it under the rulership of the Pope or the Vatican. You know what I mean? Obviously, it never happened, right? We're here today, and Catholicism is not ruling America, So,
well, let me say this, and maybe we can spin this or slide into a different area.
Yeah.
Assad had stated not so long ago in an interview that the U.S. had waged many wars since Vietnam, but had failed to achieve its political objectives from any of them. And I quote something that he had said. He said, "Had they not learned that they gained nothing from these wars but the destruction of the countries they fought, which has had a destabilizing effect on the Middle East and other parts of the world," is what he had asked. So with that just kind of, I don't know if it supports what you had said, or it just basically shines light on the fact that, these countries in which we're invading for the reasons of fighting terrorism, it seems like we're doing more terrorizing than accomplishing any type of, I guess democracy is one thing that that most people believe is the objective of the U.S. government whenever entering a particular country or state, trying to, I guess, if you will, save the people. But then you turn around and you find that none of that is successful, and that we have, like what Mr. Assad, the president of Syria, had said, is basically a destabilizing effect of the Middle East, and there's destruction, really. So we, in turn, make enemies out of these folks in which we terrorize. And how could one not expect any group of from any of these countries to lash back at us? At America, that is. You kill the mothers and the fathers and the daughters and the brothers and the sisters, et cetera, in any of these countries around the world. Expect the children of those children, expect the children of those mothers, expect the children of those fathers, and so on and so forth, to grow up hating America and Western government. And, that brings that we are just breeding enemies, is what many would say. That we are breeding enemies by the actions of our American government and these policies, in which we already know a lot of times there's a lot of propaganda that goes along with this. Some would say that war is money, But again, so I don't want to really stop you from what you were saying, but I just wanted to use that quote there from Assad and try to kind of slide on in, since we're talking about Muslims, since we're talking about the Arab nation. Let me ask you, what do you feel, or what do you think about what's going on in Syria?
Yeah, that what he said. I mean, although I would say that he has his own issues, because there's clearly something going on within Syria, the civil strife that's going on within Syria itself. But I mean, although he I would say he's hypocritical in that position, but he's right. What he's saying about, Vietnam and America's constantly involving itself in these invasions and bombings and attacks over, almost every decade. There seems to be some problem, some issue. But he's right. Yeah, nothing really, when you think about it, not too much is achieved, especially with Vietnam. When Vietnam finished, the North was still the North and the South was still the South, and it was basically a stalemate. You know what I'm saying? So he's right in that regard, and he's right in regards to that. What happens is, if the objective is to install a democratic system, usually he's right about that too, that it doesn't happen most of the time. It's usually some unjust leader that gets installed, and he starts being unjust to his own people, or he's doing the bidding of some Western powers, which further continues the injustice, because he's not really going by the will of his people. He has to answer to whoever helped install him in place, and on a bigger note, since like you said, Syria is the big issue now, and now they're talking about possibly attacking it. I mean, of course, we don't know what the big picture is, what agenda these people really have, But when I look at it, I'm like, I think, and I'm saying this as a Muslim, that I think we need, and I say we now, I mean we as an American society or American country, that we should stay out. I think these people over there need to fix the problems themselves. Let them fix that problem themselves. Let them handle it themselves. That way, number one, I don't think any American soldier's life should be put on the line for that. These people over there, they need to fix that problem, themselves. Let them handle it, because that solves a number of problems. One, that way America doesn't have to get involved, and that America doesn't have to be, the bad guy because of all the bombings and things like that. And it just lets these people, wake up to their own issue and fix it themselves. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the Middle East. If since they're all Muslim nations, I think the Muslims should handle that themselves. No Western country should have to come and put its soldiers, its men on the line for a problem that the people over there should be solving themselves. But as I said, we don't know the big picture. See, I say that to say that, usually there's a bigger agenda. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking as a regular citizen, so I'm just saying for what I see.
What do you think that agenda is?
Well, the bigger agenda could be to, because from what we've seen throughout the history of Western involvement in the Middle East, and really not just the Middle East, but really wherever the Western countries have gone, it seems that the Western countries' agenda is not to allow true sovereignty to these non-Western nations. They don't really want them, from what I see, to not, to allow them to have true self-governance, because of course they are, if so, they are a competition to the West. And as we know, for the last several hundred years, many of the Western nations have colonized and taken over countries, and this is how they've accumulated their power, their wealth. And so if these nations were allowed to have their true sovereignty, they would be, a competition to the West. You know what I mean?
Well,
so I don't think the West,
let me interrupt you real quick. Just basically, and a lot of times I like to provide information that either supports or challenges the information provided. And I like to take this opportunity to first, for those listening, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you all to take everything that you receive on this show for face value. I challenge each and every one of you to do your research, to follow up and confirm the information that you're hearing, and to basically build truth behind your belief. Okay, and then again, what I say not to encourage or discourage, but just simply to basically either support or challenge the information provided. And you did say, you spoke about sovereign nations, and Assad did go on record in saying that Syria is a sovereign country, and quoting, fighting Al-Qaeda. And many different reports, information provided out there that many can find from web. You have different web newscasts, like you have the Associated Press, you have the Huffington Post, you have the Drudge Report. So you can go to various different outlets outside of the mainstream media to find information, along with other inside groups out there that like to collect information such as this. But a lot of us would find information linking Al-Qaeda with U.S. government contracts and CIA involvement and things of that nature. So we want to be careful in how in which we deal with this whole issue in Syria. In a recent interview with the Russian newspaper, the Syrian president Assad had stressed that Syria is not a puppet state, and that the majority of the rebels his government is fighting are connected to Al-Qaeda. So, again, I say that just to kind of either support or challenge the information that you provide. So you can continue on, but I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, yeah, and that's interesting as well, is that a lot of these Arab leaders, including Assad, is that they've been oppressive to their people for decades, you know what I'm saying? And that's what this Arab Spring is about, that these people are finally saying, enough is enough, they're waking up, and, it was going good for a while. You saw people, they rose up in, I think it was Tunisia first, and then Egypt jumped on, and they tried a little something in Yemen, but it didn't quite pan out, Libya, so these people they're starting to wake up and say, hey, enough is enough with these autocratic leaders, these tyrannical leaders, and and Assad being one of them. So, but what they're doing is a lot of these leaders are claiming to justify what they're doing to their own people, and to maintain power is to say, hey, we're fighting, we're like you, America, we're fighting against Al-Qaeda. These people are Al-Qaeda. When in reality, a lot of these people are not Al-Qaeda. A lot of these people are just their own citizens who are fed up with the decades of one particular family ruling them, or one particular man, governing them for the last, 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, and ruling, autocratically, where, it's just him and his family ruling. He's keeping all the power to himself. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. But to try to cover, or to try to justify how they're being brutal to their people, they say, oh, well, hey, America, we're like you. You say you're fighting Al-Qaeda, so are we, and therefore leave us alone. Let us do this. Let us bomb these, our own cities and treat the people like this. And they use that excuse that it's Al-Qaeda. You know what I'm saying? But
well, I want to point this out as well for those listeners. You're going to find on the Facebook fan page videos posted that show Free Syrian Army, or FSA rebel forces, launching a Syrian gas attack on a Syrian village. And you, again, take it for face value. This is just more information, more resources to you all to draw your own conclusion, to find out the truth. Again, you got to find the truth behind your belief, and this will provide you with some information on that as well. I'll allow you to finish up with the whole issue on Syrian and your thoughts on that. You may continue.
Right. So and then that's the new thing. The new thing now is that there's this claim of the gas attack, and the reports are coming out telling us that it was Assad's army that did it. They released the gas against the village and against his own people. So now this is prompting the United States and other Western countries. I'm hearing the French might be getting involved. The British, they're gearing up to now perhaps do some type of military strike because of this accusation of chemical weapons being used in Syria against the rebel fighters. You know what I'm saying? So, who knows what's what? Could it be a false flag? Could it be true? You know what I mean? But the main thing I say is that I don't think that the West or America should get involved. I think really, if anybody should get involved, it should be the other Arab countries. They should, to get involved and handle this problem themselves. But of course, a lot of times they won't get involved, at least the leadership of the Arab countries, because they are in the same predicament. They too are tyrannical leaders. They too are despotic leaders or autocratic leaders. So it would be kind of hypocritical if they jump in and try to do something when they're being as brutal to their people as Assad might be. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a catch-22.
Right.
But in any case, I still think that whatever's done, that the people there should handle that. They should fight that out because, think about it. When Western countries have been involved in human rights violations against their own people, you notice that they were allowed to handle it themselves. For example, I'll give you an example. South Africa, apartheid, right? Although there might have been some boycotts and things like that, troops were never sent to South Africa to free the black South Africans from the injustices of the apartheid regime, right? The West let them handle it themselves. When America was doing stuff with Jim Crow against black Americans, Martin Luther King and all of that, right? The UN didn't send no troops to America. No troops were sent to rescue black Americans. America had to fix this problem itself. But it's funny how whenever other countries do it, they never let them handle it themselves. They always want to get involved and invade and bomb and implement some type of, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying, hey,
right.
But that goes to my point about the bigger picture. Why don't they allow them to do that? Is there a bigger agenda? Is it about control of the Middle East or these other non-Western countries? You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, there has to be a big agenda. I mean, I go back to a news clipping or video that I posted on the Facebook fan page with the Kuwaiti girl's testimony about Iraqi soldiers murdering basically infant children and with incubators. I know a lot of people have heard about this story, which then later on came out to be all a farce. It was all a lie. And this was the set stage to build into the Iraqi war, in which, again, we all understand like, I guess, basically going by what President Assad said, nothing came of it. Or better yet, what came of it was not what we were led to believe. And you look at that as propaganda, which then makes me raise the eyebrow about the whole Syrian gas attack. Now, unfortunately, with the dead or murdered infants in the incubators, that was all a lie. That wasn't true. But here, from what I understand, we do actually have dead men, women, and children from this Syrian gas attack, or alleged Syrian gas attack, I should say. So there is a big agenda here. There is a big agenda. Again, I challenge everyone to find truth within their beliefs. As I mentioned, I'll be posting videos on the FSA rebel forces, or Free Syrian Army, launching a Syrian gas attack on a Syrian village. We have President Assad denying the whole attack with the Syrian gas on his own people. And, you know, even when he was asked what parts of Syria remain under rebel control, Assad had said that his government has been dealing with an influx of large amounts of terrorists from other countries. Again, who are those other countries? And he also was quoted in saying the majority of the that he's fighting are Takfiris and who adopted the Al-Qaeda doctrine. So again, we all must look for, again, the truth behind our beliefs. And I believe that there's probably a lot of families out there that wish they had somebody coming to their aid, such as the family in DeKalb County who was terrorized by 8 DeKalb County deputies when their home was basically, I would like to say, raided. At about 1:30 a.m., the family in Ellenwood in DeKalb County they were awakened by the knocks and bangs and screams of DeKalb County deputies to open the door at 1:30 in the morning. Now, the family was alarmed. They were scared. No information was given by the deputies on why they were at their home. They were being held at and tried to be forced to open the door. They were threatened to have the door kicked in by these deputies. After about a half an hour of a standstill between the family and the deputies, the family did call 911, situation that was going on at their home. The 911 operator was unable to provide them with any information on why the deputies were there, nor was a captain out to their home to respond or try to defuse the situation. And after, I guess, about 45 minutes later, the mother of the family then decided to open up the door, and in which she was then pushed to the ground. The other family members were aggressively thrown to the ground, attacked, assaulted. They were threatened to be stunned, and a lot of profanity was used by the officers, I must add. And this is still an open case. Again, it happened in DeKalb County. The woman at which they had come to the home for was Natanya Griffin. And you can look that up, and I'll post that video as well on the Facebook fan page. But I want to thank you for allowing We Provoke Thought to be your platform.
Can I say one more thing on that issue real quick?
Yes. No, trust me, I always give the call to the last word. I was going to do that. But I just wanted to thank you before I did that. I wanted to thank you for allowing We Provoke Thought to be the platform to allow you to express your feelings and thoughts on things. And as I always like to do, first I would like to always say that here We Provoke Thought, and for that we do not apologize, but I always like to give the call to the last word before closing. So go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you, and thank you for allowing me to express my thoughts. On that issue right there, you know, in general, I've been checking out a lot of stuff on YouTube where a lot of people are showing video footage of law enforcement, you know, overstepping their bounds. You know, I don't know if this has always been going on, and we just didn't know about it because of the lack of cameras and people having cell phones with cameras. But now that everybody has all these, the video cameras and cameras on their phone, it seems like I'm seeing a whole bunch of videos of police officers, overstepping the bounds. You know what I mean? Big up to those cops who are doing the right thing and maintaining the law properly. But I've been seeing a lot of videos all across the nation of law enforcement just really going over the bounds with excessive force, with violation of rights. You know what I mean? So this
I do, and you got to look at it like this: if the family does not raise their children correctly, what do you have? You have a household of unruly, quite possibly unruly, and just bad children that then grow out into the community, and unfortunately may terrorize the community as well. So when you have a corrupt government who aren't basically doing what they're supposed to be doing for the people, it's not unusual for us to have on a smaller scale law enforcement, which are here to protect the citizens, for them overstepping their bounds, for them abusing their power. We have just an overwhelming amount of abuse of power going on from the small levels or from the lower levels, from our law enforcement agencies and our individual little governments there, and from the mayors and the governors and senators and so on and so forth, to our larger governments. We're under a corporate state. A lot of people would say, and unfortunately, nothing is going to happen until the people take charge. We have to take charge. We have to gain our country back. We have to control our government. When it is said that when the people fear the government, you have tyranny. When the government fears the people, you have liberty. But again, I'll allow you to say goodbye so that you can have the last word. I don't want to take that from you. And I thank you again, sir.
All right, once again, thank you. And, like you said, you're right. That's the issue. These people, they come from amongst the pool of society. And like you said, if the society has its issues, and these are the people that become our law enforcement officers and politicians, and, they're already messed up from the pool of society, and then, they get positions of authority, then obviously there's going to be corruptions and, misuse of force and things like that. But the people is the people. The people's job to wake up and to make that change. Don't sit by and be a sheep. You know what I mean? Get up.
There you go.
Wake up.
No sheep up here. No sheeples. Well, I thank you, sir. I'm going to say goodbye to you on the other end. This is you. I thank you all of my listeners as well. This is We Provoke Thought, and for that, we do not apologize.
This call has been recorded. This call is being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please disconnect at this time.
Good day. I am the voice of We Provoke Thought, and We Provoke Thought is an organization, a show that is looking to be the platform for all those who have an opinion, idea, or